everybody, and welcome to the show called Are We Still Funny, Kayla? This is MinnMax. I'm Ben Hanson. This is Kayla, somebody who I've known for a very long time. We have a lot to unpack. Welcome, Kayla from high school.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, and where is here? How would you describe where you are?
Outside of Mankato, so okay. South central Minnesota. I don't know how wide the audience is, how specific I should be.
You can reference Mankato. Everyone around the world will understand Mankato, Minnesota. I think it'll come in handy real quick. There's probably somebody watching this in Russia, but like 3 people for a frame of reference, so it's confusing. Sure. But this is New Show Plus, everybody. As you might know, each and every week, we let $10 supporters on Patreon vote to choose which new show we create or continue. We gave them a lot of options this week, Kayla. But the reason this show exists is because last week on the MinnMax Show podcast, our main podcast, somebody wrote in and asked about yearbook superlatives. Is that like the shorthand for like, I just call them like the yearbook awards, like most likely to yada, yada, yada. Yep. And during that, I brought up a little factoid thing, which we can unpack in a bigger way. And then somehow, I think I can blame Jacob Geller and our crew for it. But the idea came up of like, oh, new show plus option. What if you let people vote for the idea of Ben surprising Kayla with a podcast, and then just whatever happens, happens. And people voted for it. So Kayla, welcome to MinnMax. The throne is yours, please.
Oh my gosh, wow. I mean, it really is such an honor. And I didn't prepare a speech, but I will just say that to be contacted by Ben Hanson out of the blue, it wasn't a New Year's resolution, but it has always been a goal.
It's so sad. You want to hear the saddest thing? Well, it's saddest, but also like the most fun thing about this, which deep within my psyche, I think I've always wanted to do this, Kayla. But it was the idea of like, I spent the last day being like, what is my relationship with Kayla? Like, I was trying to think of just like running through like, do I remember meeting her? Do I remember hanging out as like really young kids? And I don't know, we can unpack all this stuff. Everything's on the table. Yeah. And then I went and I was like, maybe like we talked a lot on Facebook a while ago, that'll jog some memories. So I checked our Facebook messages and it's like, we talked about the reunion, the 10-year reunion, which is 9 years ago at this point. And then also I sent you a message in 2015 and I said, and I regret this, but I said, Dear Kayla, congratulations on the engagement, but your photos could be funnier. Please make goofier faces in the future. Thank you. So I think that sums up the relationship is we would message each other if one of us got engaged, but outside of that, we're not really talking on a near regular basis.
You know, and if we're really being honest, then that's what true friendship is. Just
I think
picking up right where you left off.
Well, look, okay, let's dive into the weeds. I was thinking about this too, Kayla. I was like, how do I pitch this? This sounds so rude out of the gate. I'm like, are we friends? Look, I think we're friendly, but has there ever been like a stretch where we're like, oh, now we're best buds? It feels like we always were on the verge of being best buds and it just never happened for like 12 years of going to school together.
Yes, no, I think you hit the nail on the head because, you know, at the end of this, I'm just going to jump right to it. I think we're going to end up realizing that we're friends at the end.
Wow.
I know, I just spoiled it. But I had the same thought because as I was going through my head, wondering if you were punking me or not, I thought, but I think we're friends.
Right.
But are we friends?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to school in New London, Minnesota, New London Spicer, I guess technically in rural Minnesota here, your entire life? I was really trying to think like, was she one of those people, one of those weirdos that moved in like 3rd grade or some nonsense?
No, I did not move in, and I won't name names of the weirdos that did. But no, I was born and raised in actually Howick, Minnesota, population 40.
Hell yeah!
If we're really getting particular, but yeah, born and raised, like yourself, right?
Yeah. Please, you think I'm one of those people that moved in like 3rd grade, or Jesse moving in 8th grade? What is this nonsense? Imposter, I say.
Shauna. In, out, did she graduate with us? I don't know.
There's a lot of blurring when I was going through. I actually really went full dork and picked up the yearbook. I was like, can I leaf through this and have any memories jog back? And there's a lot of like, oh yeah, did we graduate with that person? Were they there? Everyone's always just, things got blurry by the end, and not from some substance abuse, but just like, I was just confused about where people were at a certain point and who was actually on the stage graduating with us.
Yeah, who was a regular, the original cast member? And yes, I was. an original cast member of the class of 2005 since the beginning.
I guess so. Okay. So this is the reason this show came up, is because my memory of it, and this is when you're welcome to just lay into me and say that did not happen that way. You're an idiot. You're completely misremembering this. My memory is I didn't win anything in like the yearbook superlatives or whatever, but I remember in the newspaper.
Yeah, there was two. There was two different. Yep,
two different awards. And for that one, I think you and I won funniest in the class. Is my memory of it. Now, do you remember that at all? Do you hold on to that like a weird trophy? Because I'm not holding it to the newspaper, but the memory in my mind is like, yeah, I think I did that.
Yeah, I do. I do recall winning 2 awards. One was funniest, and I don't know which one was yearbook and which one was newspaper. One was funniest, and the other one was actually life of the party. And I do remember that one because I think Zach and I got it, and I just remember a picture when we had party hats, and I was like on his back.
Yep.
So I do actually remember that. So yes, and I think I was honored to win the funniest award with you.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, the newspaper is more fleeting, though. I mean, no one hangs on to read a newspaper. I was flipping through that yearbook and I saw that and I got a little bit angry. I was like, Kayla gets a double honors. She gets to be life of the party and the funniest person in the class? That's not fair.
Did you know I have put that on my resume since 2005, landed a job with it every time.
Do they bring it up?
I bring it up. I put it right at the top of the resume.
And then you walk through the door and make sure they're very aware of your skills. Be like, by the way, life of the party. Can't you tell from this beige room that we're doing this interview in? Come on. Okay. Now, in the interest of being humble, I remember winning that and being like, that's nonsense. I don't know who's voting on this, how it works. It's probably we had like 2 friends in the yearbook class for some nonsense that pushed us over the edge. I don't know how it worked.
Well, I think one our class voted on, and one was either the newspaper people or the yearbook people. And one of them I would not have really cared about because I more would have worried about what my peers thought than those yearbook. Were you on yearbook?
No, I wasn't in yearbook. Would you want to hear a weird story, though?
Yeah.
When I put this show in the poll for like, hey, the name of the show, of course, is Are We Still Funny, Kayla? Somebody jumped into our Discord, just like the online chat thing, and they're like, oh, I really hope that wins because I graduated with Ben and I want him to talk about it. I was like, what is this? Who is this?
What?
Justin. Apparently.
He was in our grade.
Yes, of course. Yeah, but he was, so he was on the he was on the yearbook team, or sorry, the newspaper. And he said that it was a poll, I think. But do you want to hear something really bizarre?
Yes.
He said that he was listening to our video game podcast for months before he realized that I was the same Ben Hanson that he graduated with. Isn't that weird?
That is really weird because when I was, doing my research last night, because I'm a nerd and I want to be prepared.
Sure.
When I was listening to you, I was loving it. Cause I'm like, man, that's the Ben Hanson. Yep, that's the Ben Hanson I remember. I thought it was great. You're like doing what you love. Yeah,
not the one Justin remembered. You couldn't even recognize my voice apparently, which is fine. I guess. It's night and day different. Now I'm like a big old dork.
That's nice that you left a mark on him.
I guess so. Yeah, in some way. Okay, so this is the part where I thought it'd be nice to give some, I don't know, what's the word? Loud, some treats, some gifts to other folks. So I was thinking about because I remember winning that thing in the newspaper and thinking like, well, that's not right. They've clearly made a mistake. And then dear friend Ronnie, do you remember that Ronnie guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's on this channel every once in a while talking about Final Fantasy or some dorky video games and stuff. But I remember talking to him and I remember him saying, he's like, no, that makes sense. He's like, if not you, who? And this is a great question.
Yes.
Who deserved that honor of funniest in the class, Kayla?
No, because I thought that same thing. And I thought, well,
life of the party, that you can own that. You were like, well, that's a lock. But the funny thing, we'll see.
I don't know. Oh, wait, are we going male or female? I have a female.
Okay, you can go female. It's so weird they split it up. Okay,
well,
go for the queens. Yeah.
Female, I would throw in the hat Sarah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I did a play with her where she was the Wicked Witch of the West, and we were like in 5th grade or something. It was like, this is the best performance I've ever seen in my life. This is like, she should have won an Oscar.
Hey, were you in, I'm still bitter about this. I shouldn't even bring it up.
Yeah.
I didn't get picked for this. This is the one that really sticks with me. Remember that play about the wetlands, and some of the best kids got to perform it at the Capitol? Well, I wasn't one of them. And you remember that one?
Not at all. I was nowhere near that. I mean, I was like Munchkin number 5. Like that was my talent level for the.
I wish. Do you know that Danielle lives a couple doors away? She would know. She knows all about this.
So someone's just like, I'm a beaver, and this is how I make my dam, and they got to go to the.
It was like the wetland. If any of our classmates are listening, they were the ones that were chosen for the play, and they're like, It was this, Kayla, you idiot.
No, that sounds good. I wasn't involved in the theater scene in a big way.
No, but this was like 4th grade, so you had to be handpicked by teachers.
That is weird. Okay, funniest. Sticking with the women. I made a list too, just to be a real dork. First one I thought of is Callie. Very funny.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Wild card, Aaron. Hilarious.
Yes, rest in peace.
Oh, there we go. Ashley.
Yes.
Somehow she has gotten funnier with time. She should. I'm surprised. If that poll was taken in 2021, she would have won.
Yeah, she is one of my favorite people that I'm friends with on Facebook for that reason.
There we go. Then this was another one I was thinking about late of like Natasha. Somehow, just an energy.
She just didn't give a.
No, it was perfect. It was the right attitude, and like somehow Natasha was like one of those people who was always like, God, she seems kind of edgy. I don't know. She was always the funniest freaking person. And always really nice. It felt like she would like lock in early on with me and be like, I know that if I make that guy laugh, like that we could really lock in and make each other laugh. And I feel like she was constantly swerving out of her way to make me laugh in a big way. And I always appreciated that.
And she wasn't, she's not Italian. Her last name was something different, but she reminded me of like an Italian mom that was like, I'm going to scare you a little bit, but I've also got your back.
Yes.
I always liked it.
I think that's the key phrase. It's weird to think back on like, a 15-year-old scaring me, but I was a little bit scared by Natasha, but it was always fun. It was like a haunted house of comedy. I think. So I just grab her. Okay, on the guy side. And this is universal content, Kayla. This is stuff everyone has a reference point for. Okay, no, I'll start with this. I would go, I think Ronnie's funnier than I am. And that's something people might know.
He is, and he's one of those quiet funnies that you just don't expect it, and he says just really funny.
Yeah, and also, I think quietly one of the most likable people in the grade too. Like no one would have a bad thing to say about him throughout the entire span of school. It's weird. It's confusing.
No, I agree.
Okay, who do you got on your guy list?
Well, okay, since we went down that path a little bit and on the quiet, like you got to be listening.
Sure.
Normie Cats.
Wow. Okay. You got to be listening to him.
Kind of like on the Ronnie spectrum, because like he's one of those he would just like sneak in like funny things when he thought nobody was listening. Yeah,
that is true. That's good. I think Kurt's in that wheelhouse too. I know I'm focusing a lot of my friends here, but
yeah, but I would agree. I mean, you guys still are a fun bunch.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. I remember Ashley, speaking of funny, she like had a notebook and she wrote down funny things that people said. I just remember the one that always stood out to me was Kurt. For some reason, the joke was about like, he spilled something on himself. For some reason, he was like licking his own arm and he just goes, skinny. And that joke will stick with me forever. Just licking yourself and saying, skinny. Okay, let's see. Another one, Landis. I don't know if you interact with Landis much, but that guy's the funniest freaking dude.
I didn't much, but now I feel like I missed out.
See, this is the thing. Maybe it's like coming from a small school. It's like a weird phase of like, I feel like I'm friendly with just about everybody that we graduated with, but somehow throughout 12 years, there are just certain people where it's like, it's like being at a party and then everyone's on their way out and it's like, you know what? I meant to talk to you more. Okay, anyways, bye.
Well, good to see you next time.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
But no, I would agree because again, when I was talking to Emily this weekend, running it past her on whether or not you were punking me. By the way, I don't run into Emily often, but she's married to my cousin, and so we do.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Yeah, so it actually works out great. She had also mentioned, everybody in our grade was very friendly, and we were just a good group of folks. So again, that was her number 2 reason for you probably not punking me. Okay, but she wasn't certain.
Just what would it look like if it was, just to be clear, Kayla, I'm not funking you, but if this was an elaborate prank, what do you think the payoff would be? Like, there's no, like, I just say, psych, I'm not recording this. See ya, sucker. Like, I don't think there's a huge downside.
I just had a little worry that you were like bringing me on here to be like, Kayla, we weren't friends. You were mean to me, and this is why. And like, let me have it. I was just a little worried.
Like, oh,
you know how
brutal.
sometimes, and you kind of touched on this at the beginning, sometimes you think something went a certain way, and like, I had a really good time in school, and I thought everybody got along. But sometimes other people had a drastically different experience, and you just didn't know.
Yep, I've had that a lot. Like, there's certain people I kind of want to reconnect with because it's like, in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm friendly with everybody. Like, it was just like fun joking around stuff. Then I look back and be like, oh, wait, is there perspective that I was like being a bully? Where in my mind it's like, hey, we're just having fun razzing each other. It's like, I don't know. I bet certain situations, like, no, that actually sucked from the other perspective. And so that's some good soul searching to try and figure out, like, okay, yeah, what gaps do we have here? But okay, just to be as self-serving as possible, I was trying to wind back the clock with you, and it's like, I remember you had what I would call extreme glasses when you were really young.
That is true.
Okay.
And I still have them. They were pink and they were thick, and ants ran when they saw them.
Perfect.
Because you could just like burn them in about 2 seconds.
Hang on, did you actually burn ants with the glasses?
I did. My sisters would try to talk me into it. So then we'd be in the car, you know, and like car rides back to my mom's family. And so we'd be using my glasses to try to like burn seats in the car, or like when we were outside, we'd try to burn ants.
That's badass. See, I didn't get to wear glasses. I didn't get any of these thrills that you did.
Oh, it was not all sunshine and rainbows. Have you ever played dodgeball in glasses?
No, that sounds miserable.
It was. And when you're in third grade with a bowl cut, it's even worse.
No, but don't worry, because the rules of dodgeball is you can't aim for the head. So therefore, you were never hit in the head, and everyone was fine. And we were more of a mat ball school, to be fair, which is a completely different, stupid system.
Well, yeah, I think mat ball was more of our high school sport, and dodgeball was more like elementary sport.
Right. Okay, trying to think of other connections between us. Our sisters were friends, right?
Yes.
That's probably the biggest thing. And so that was probably like, oh, somehow we know that our older sisters are connected here.
Yes, I think that was the biggest thing, because they still get together like annually, where you and I have yet to set up an annual reunion. Well, until now. Maybe this is the first annual.
Yep, mark your calendars, everybody. Set your watch at home, please. Yeah, I guess the last time we really talked probably was the 10-year reunion in 2015.
Yeah.
Oosh.
That's a long time ago.
And I feel like we're burying the lead, because you arranged that whole thing because you were the class president.
Well, in fairness, I was the vice president. Ooh. Laura was the president, because it didn't ring as well. It ran really well when it was KP for VP in the campaign. Yeah, a lot of marketing went into that. So KP for VP.
And that meant, those are your initials. And so that means that there's like a poster in the hallway, like one poster that said KP for VP. And it's like, wow, that's why Laura has to take the crown.
I think we put at least 2 up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you realize like how cool you seem to everybody in the world now? Because you won frickin' funniest, you won life of the party, and you were sitting in the White House at the high school for winning the big prize.
Yeah, over a class of 138. It was a big responsibility.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, it's a weird thing where like we came like from a very small town, like Howick, a town of 40. I was technically in the woods outside of New London, and New London had a population of like...
you were in a village out there.
Yeah, you've been to my house?
Oh, yeah, I had to pick up my sister when she was hanging out with your sister, you know, because I wasn't in there.
Okay, sure. Really? Do you feel like you never...
I think the first time I was in your house was your graduation. Hey, I came to your high school graduation. We must be friends.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. You know what that was, though? It wasn't friendship. No. I'm sure it was friendship, but I'm trying to think of like why that would be. I bet it was because Rory is a good friend of mine, and I bet he was dating Joe, and Joe was a friend of yours, and I bet that was like a big group travel. Or do you think it was as pure as we were so close that you have to come to my house graduation party?
Yeah, because I wasn't as good of friends with Jolyn in high school as I was in college.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm connecting.
So, you know, I probably was riding around with though.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is also the big thought I had thinking about connections between us. Cause I grew up next to another Kayla. And so I went over to her house all the time growing up and stuff to go play Sega Genesis and whatnot. Just super cool stuff. And I remember, so you were a big basketball star, is it fair for me to say?
Well, no, Kayla would have been the big basketball star. Really? I didn't play all the way through high school.
Really? Oh, in my mind, it was like, well, of course, Kayla's like, both Kaylas are just basketball superstars. But I remember being at Kayla's one time, and she was, great at basketball. And we were playing basketball in her driveway with her dad. And somebody else was there. And I was like, I feel like it was Kayla. I feel like it was the two Kaylas and then her dad and I playing basketball. And I was so uncomfortable with anything athletic. I wanted to just like run down the road and never come back. Cause like, this sucks. I want to be playing Genesis. I don't want to be playing basketball with these people who are just mopping the floor with me. Okay. You don't think that was you?
That sounds like such a weird interaction that I would definitely remember that, and I don't remember that.
Really? Okay. When do you think your friendship with Kayla started?
That was in about 6th grade. So I was first friends with Allie. So Allie and I had the same teacher in 6th grade, and that was how I got to be friends with Kayla, Danielle, Callie, and Jess.
Fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing the math too. This is the most self-indulgent podcast ever recorded, just to be clear. But I was doing the math and trying to think about like, because there was kind of, I don't feel like our high school was very cliquey and kind of classical. Like when I watch stuff like Mean Girls, I'm like, what is this? This seems too defined. You know?
I think the grade above us was like that, but we were not.
No,
yeah.
I don't think we were. But still, I would put you in like a jock classification if I could. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so I had a weird thing where it was like I was friends with Kayla from our youth because we lived so close to each other. And then like in 4th grade, somehow I was hanging out with all of the freaking 4th grade jocks. And so that was like the Jess, Allie, Kayla, Josh, Jaron, Logan crew, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was like, it felt uncomfortable at the time because at the time, even my feeling as a fourth, I knew. I was like, I can't do this. We'd go over and play basketball at Josh's house. I'm like, I can't do this at all. Like, again, I'm happy to play Sega Genesis and Josh's. Most of our friendships as a kid, it turns out, were based on who has a Sega Genesis. So I'd be happy to like play Bart versus the Space Mutants or whatever in his basement. And then we'd play sports and be like, I need to get out of here. And also, this is where I divulge too much, but I remember feeling, because I was friends with that group from like 4th to 5th grade, and like Callie was in there too and stuff. Yeah. And I remember just feeling really self-conscious about like, and I'm very aware this is weird to say now in retrospect. I want to be very clear. But it was like, everyone else is like attractive and I'm not. And so literally, I remember we used to play like spin the bottle. And it was like when it would land on me, everyone's like, oh, that my perception and memory is everyone was like, oh Christ, I wanted to kiss Josh. I got to kiss this dweeb who's just talking about a Sega Genesis.
Same.
No. Did you really feel that way?
No, same. Because, when we played Spin the Bottle, everybody wanted to kiss Jess and Allie and Caleb. Same, Ben. See, I knew we were friends. I knew it.
Jesus, why don't we talk about Spin the Bottle? Not play, but why don't we just talk about it over cafeteria food and Galaxy Pizza or whatever the hell? Jesus.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely felt like the rectangle-shaped pizza at lunch.
Yeah, it was as good as it gets. Yeah. Did you like school?
Yeah, I love school. I still love learning. I'm a lifelong learner.
Yeah, okay. Forget the idea of like, I like cracking open a book and reading Wikipedia. What about like, did you like the structure of the first 12 years of education?
That is a loaded question. Well, I liked it because, I like seeing people every day. I'm actually quite introverted, but I do like seeing people and interacting.
Kayla, I have bad news. You won life of the party and funniest person in the school. I don't think you're an introvert.
Introvert is my base. I can be extroverted and I'm fairly good at it, but like introverted is my base camp. Yeah.
That makes sense. And so the idea of going to school every day and like being forced to talk to people was kind of a perk then?
Yeah, like I liked seeing my friends and whatnot. I like learning. I didn't like being locked in. I'm independent in that way, where it was like, you got to stay here at school. And I was like, I'm going to go out for lunch. Watch me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed my time at school.
Yeah.
I think it's because we had just like a good group, good grade. And, I'm not trying to, speaking of self-indulgent podcast.
Yeah, please.
Learning comes pretty easy to me. So
Here we go, Kayla. All right, bragging.
It just wasn't that hard. So I was just ready to like plan the party and go hang out on the weekend and get homework done whenever.
Yeah. What do you think your GPA was in high school?
3.9.
Jesus Christ! Really? God.
He's number 10 in the class, Ben.
Whoa.
No valedictorian. I think that was Alex Brown, wasn't it?
Ooh, maybe. Hang on. You seem shocked and horrified.
He should have been on the funniest list.
Oh, he's going to be so mad that we didn't mention him.
He's going to be so mad.
Oh, no. Oh, you know what? Absolutely retcon it. Put him at the top of that list. We apologize.
I love you, Alex, wherever you are.
Yeah, I remember Alex and Kari were neck and neck.
Yes.
And so I don't know if one of them came out on top or if it was like a first, second, and third situation. I could see like a Kristen being up there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some outliers.
Steph is like a statistician at Google.
Yeah. Wait, really?
Something like that.
Jesus, that's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a crazy person because when I talk about high school, I'm like, no, I think it was fun. Like I like all of school. Like I think I got along well with everybody. I think it was cool. And everyone else just has a lot of trauma from high school, which like, yeah, it was stressful and, I was super self-conscious and all that natural stuff. But I worry about like, am I a lunatic? Am I not remembering this correctly? That it was just like, when I think back on school, especially high school, it's like, it was just sitting in that hallway making jokes with my friends. Like, it felt like we didn't even go to class. Somehow it was like 5 hours a day just sitting in that hallway. I don't know what we were waiting for. We weren't skipping class. Why was there so much hallway time?
Everybody was just there hanging out, man. The teachers, they didn't want to teach. They were doing nothing.
I guess so.
And I think when you really think about it, maybe we were secretly just part of a sitcom. In the sitcom where they never really go to class. They're just always sitting out in the hallway, shooting the breeze, solving life's problems.
I think so. And you think you solved some of life's problems out in that hallway?
Sitting on that bench, if you weren't carving your name in the bench, then what were you doing?
Who were you, really, at that point? Do you want to hear the saddest thought that I have about high school? And I promise this is the saddest thing. And I want to be really clear. Just a lot of preamble for all these. Oh, no, go ahead. What's that? No,
if you really wanted to get into it, there was a lot of sad things. There were some wild times. But anyways, keep going.
No, yes, I think that's not, we don't have to dive into all of it, but it's definitely worth noting. Like there's a lot of sad stuff in, through our class for sure. But well, compared to that, Kayla, this is going to seem like a breeze. But I am not maybe I am a nostalgic person since I've been talking about video games from the 90s, for my career now or whatever. Yeah. But I'm not really like pining after high school. I don't think yet. Like 4 to 5 times a year, I will have a nightmare. And it's a very specific nightmare. And it is that it's like the last week of school or the last day of our high school. And I'm not recording enough. I'm like a video producer. And so like, that's always in the mind. So it's like, if I'm not recording this, it's going to be lost forever. That's always like rolling in my brain. And somehow that seeps and infuses with high school. So it'll just be like a cold night terror of just like, oh my God, everyone's already leaving the school. And I forgot to just like capture us just like sitting around, shooting the in the hallway. Like
in the hallway.
Yeah. Like that type of good stuff. I feel like, well, I just missed it and now it's gone. And like most people were gone that day. Half the group was around, but you're not capturing the essence. It's probably like a larger fear of death issue or something, but I have that nightmare all the time. And it's probably something only video producers have.
Yeah, I think so because I thought the class video turned out great. I remember so many wonderful shots of us sitting in the hallway with that beautiful sunshine coming through.
I know. I was skimming through it today. Yeah, that was Josh and Ryan that made that. And I was going through and just scrubbing through it today. And I think there's part of me that was like, it's like, why wasn't I involved with this? Like I was really into the video production class. That was kind of my jam in high school. And then, but I guess it's like, well, they were tackling it, so it's fine. But I think there's probably a little part of me that's like, God, I wish I made that video in high school. That would have been so much fun. Ooh, hang on. I'm having a flashback. And it's not a bad one. I think I made a video for Mr. NLS? Were you involved in Mr. NLS?
Woke him up in the morning?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I remember I made that video and it's completely lost. But that was really fun because it was like you all at like 5 a.m. or something, sneaking into people's rooms. And I remember the funniest part of the video was you all sneaking into Wade's room to wake him up. And you woke him up and he goes, I edited it, so I watched it over and over again. It always made me laugh. And so it's Wade under the covers and he goes, "You've got to be kidding me." And then you like whip back the covers and turns out you got the wrong room and it was his older brother, like Brody. And so this dude doesn't know what's going on and suddenly there's just like a bunch of high school girls like ripping off his covers as he's trying to sleep at 5 a.m. It was a freaking nightmare. He should still be having nightmares about high school. Good Lord.
I do not remember that.
So that was like Mr. NLS, was that okay, there's a lot of weird jumbled memories. It was almost 20 years ago.
Snow days. I think that was Snow Days, like the February celebration. I think that was, I think that was Mr. NLS.
Okay, there's also something like the homecoming thing. There was something where Ashley and I were like in front of the entire gym doing like competitions with other, like not quite couples. Some people were couples, some people weren't. It was really a weird dynamic. And I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was like
homecoming. Because Jess and I were the MCs.
Yeah.
And we were wearing referee t-shirts, right?
Okay, that sounds right. Yes. And
we did like, weird games like shaving cream on a balloon or something. Sure.
Did you like come up with that? Did you plan this? Who plans these things? As someone whose like mission in school was to be like, I'm not gonna get involved with this. I don't know what you guys are doing over there. That type of stuff would just pop up. Like, were there like planning committees? What was everybody else doing all day?
Yeah, there was definitely a planning committee because that, Jess is always in charge of everything. So of course, like she was part of the MC thing. I think there was a committee for sure. Mrs. Parada definitely would have been on it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm leaning like Roxy.
That's it. You got it. You can say Foxy Roxy. It's okay. This is a friendly podcast. She was a very attractive teacher, and people called her Foxy Roxy because they were all very classy.
Yeah. I would have rattled off Foxy Roxy right away. I was trying to censor it a little bit.
I think that's a compliment. It's unclear. Yeah, I remember that weird homecoming thing then because I was with my friend Ashley and I remember thinking it'd be funny because you're like announcing everybody. It was probably literally you that was announcing everybody. And everybody like came out from behind the curtain like, hello, hello. And then did all these weird competitions, which, God, I can't imagine anything more uncomfortable. Maybe now it'd be okay doing it, but like peak anxiety, self-consciousness doing this was just a nightmare. And so you were like playing music as well. And so you announced Ashley and I said, Ashley, it'd be really funny is if I was giving you like a piggyback ride as we run out there. And she's like, oh, okay. And so she did it. And then we ran out there and I was trying to like dance to the music with Ashley on my back. And then completely whiffed it and just toppled over and Ashley went like slamming into the gym floor. I wanted to die. It was brutal. And it's like, all right, hundreds of people. Now we'll sit here and try and politely play Shave the Balloon or what else you had. And I just felt like the biggest asshole possible.
Let's see how funny I can be. Ashley, watch this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it turns out not that funny. Yeah, this isn't funny at all. In fact, this is a traumatic thing that we still talk about to this day. Do you still hang out with folks? Danielle's next to you.
Danielle's 2 doors down.
Okay.
I will see Kayla in a couple weeks.
Nice.
She's not too far away. Emily.
Of course.
Randomly. That's mainly it. I did see Maggie last year.
That's nice.
That's about it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, in Minneapolis. I was kind of happy. Like a lot of people ended up moving down here, and so yeah, I still hung out with Rory. Just hung out with him a couple days ago.
Are you in Minneapolis?
Yeah, I'm in Minneapolis. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and Ronnie, Kurt, Jesse's in Nebraska now, but yeah, we're all still good friends. Yeah, I just saw Alex in Seattle not too long ago and stuff. So yeah, it still feels like that kind of core group, whatever that group was, is still pretty intact, I think, which is nice.
Yeah. See, that's just another kudos to the class of 2005. We had good groups of friends.
I guess so. I think so. Okay, I have another weird memory for you, and I'm hoping you can shed some light on it since you were involved in the planning of all these activities and stuff. There was something that we did senior year where it was like, all I remember is at a certain point, Carrie was like, hey, I need a shirt that you wear all the time for this like performance or something. And for some reason, it was a bunch of like girls in the class were like impersonating the guys in like this play that was in the gym again. It's like, we're pretending to be these people. And they each, and like, I don't know, a group of like 20 girls or whatever just like chose a guy to like spoof.
Was this in the middle school gym?
No, well, I mean, maybe. It was definitely in high school. I don't know if we did it in the middle school gym. Do you remember this at all?
No, I don't remember. In high school?
Yeah.
Did we do a talent show?
I don't think it was a talent show. Maybe it was part of one of these weird things, but
Did you run for Mr. NLS?
What's that?
Did you run for Mr. NLS? Was it part of Snow Days?
I'd be surprised if I ran for, I don't think I ran for Mr. NLS. Yeah, I feel like the only thing I did was somehow went out there with Ashley for whatever the hell that thing was. But I think that was also like people voting for that to happen, now that I think about it. Because I remember being like, what? Why am I going out there with Ashley? Anyways, and so I just remember like it was the weirdest thing to be like, okay, this person is wearing my Bad Astronaut t-shirt, which is the name of a band I really liked in high school. And it was like Carrie going out there to do like a parody of me in front of the entire class. And it was just like the ultimate test of like, well, let's see what I look like to the rest of the world. Like, you tell me in front of this group what my persona apparently was. And I remember she like ran out. She didn't drop anybody on the gymnasium floor, but she ran out and she's like, oh, actually, if you divide 12 by 14, blah, blah, blah. And because it was all like math based, which is not my cup of tea at all. But what it was is I used to have a notebook where I'd write down all of my quote unquote good ideas for like movies or inventions or some nonsense like that. And so that was her parody of me, is like, oh, he's the dork who always writes down what he thinks are good ideas. And they absolutely were not good ideas. So you don't remember that weird event?
Well, it might have been, it was either part of homecoming or Snow Days. I feel like I remember this memory, but I might be confusing it when our sisters were seniors and they did something similar. And I don't know why I remember that, because they're, 4 years older than us.
Yeah.
But I remember 2 of those plays and 2 spoofs. I remember, spoofing the dudes in the class.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really remember ours.
That's weird. We see, if we would have spoofed the girls, maybe the guys didn't. Maybe then it would have been memorable. If like somebody was running out there being like, I'm Kayla, blah, 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 blah. It's like, this is uncomfortable. This is so weird.
No, I'm definitely glad that we did not do that. Because to your point, in high school, someone spoofing me, I don't know if I would have been able to handle it. No. Now, sure.
Right. They probably would run out there with like the huge glasses, like, let me find an ant. This is gonna be let me kill animals in front of everybody.
Like a nice little bowl cut. It would have been beautiful.
Yeah, do you have favorite memories from high school? I know it's too broad of a question, but.
Oh my gosh, that is like a really broad question. So we had this little event our senior year in Swift Falls. Did you attend that?
Was that like a senior skip day?
It was senior skip day.
Yeah.
Did you come out to that?
I did, yeah, where eventually the cops came and everybody had to run into the woods. Yeah,
well, some of us tried to, be the voice of reason and the leader for the class and ended up not working out well.
You stood up to the cops, you're like, I'm VP. Yes, I've been drinking, but hear me out. Something like that.
I got sent home.
All right, that's not so bad. Yeah, I remember that was fun. Just to like, I didn't even remember where that was, but it's like going out to some big field in the middle of the woods and like, all right, we're all just going to camp out here and stuff.
It was in Swift County, which is like by Benson.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I remember my genius thought there was, if we get out of the county line, then we'll be okay.
The Duke boys? Like, I don't know if that's how the law works.
That was my high school senior logic of how we were going to get away with senior skip day. We just had to move it out of the county. Problem solved.
Yeah. I think like maybe I wasn't drinking or only had one beer and it was a while ago or something. And so I remember just being like totally fine, just sitting there on the picnic table while everybody else was like ran off into the woods. And I remember, God, I forget who it was. I think it was Jesse. He like ended up in the woods with Jordan. And you said that Jordan snapped into like military mode and turned into quote General Jordan. He was like, get down, hide behind the log, let's crawl. And he was like this militant for like hiding from the cops in the woods. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry I missed out on that. That does sound fun.
I was in the back of the cop car with Jennifer.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, I do. I do vividly remember that, and her and I having a little chat in the back of the cop car. It was good times.
That's nice. I think she came to the reunion, if I'm remembering correctly. Remember at some point within the last 10 years, I had like a good chat with her.
Yeah, because I think she's still in the area.
Yeah.
She might have been there.
Yeah, I ran into Jennifer this summer at the brewery, which was lovely. It was super sweet.
She was sweet.
Yep, she was super sweet.
Probably not past tense.
Yeah, she didn't seem like a monster, I don't think. And yeah, I talked to her kind of about that same thing of like, yeah, she's been around forever. And then it wasn't, we had like
she was a transplant.
Was she a transplant? All right, take it back. She's a monster. She's got to go. Forget it.
She came from Atwater in 3rd grade, but her and I were best friends when she moved here.
Really? Okay, so hey, you were welcoming to the transplants. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
Well, that's sweet. But yeah, it was a thing with her where we had a study hall together, like really late, like junior year maybe or something. And it was one of those things of like, wait, why aren't we hanging out all the time? Like, it's just like I've never gotten along so well with somebody. It's just such a weird thing of like, those people just come out of the blue. And maybe that's what I have nightmares about. It's like, oh, were there like good friends? Like I was really happy with my group of friends, but it's like, were there good friends that I just missed out on for whatever stupid reason throughout high school? And that's a stupid thing to even think about probably at age 36.
No, but I've definitely thought about that with Ashley as I don't stalk her on Facebook, but she just comes up a lot. Maybe because like, technology can read my internal psyche and they know that like I'm just laughing my butt off at whatever she says. But I think her and I would be good friends now.
Why don't you reach out?
I mean, I like her Facebook posts.
See, okay, I guess that's enough for some people. I remember, this is not, I want to preface everything by saying it's a sad story. This is not a sad story in comparison to sad stories. But I remember at some point talking to Kristen, and it's so interesting talking to her because I think we had that same discussion of like, hey, why don't we hang out more? It was one of those things of like graduating, like, yeah, I always liked her. I thought she was so sweet. And I was like, well, I just didn't want to like invite you to stuff. Like if we were all hanging out, because I know, it's like, I didn't know what would like interfere with your Christian beliefs and stuff. Cause in my mind, it was like, okay, Christian number one is Kristen. Like you locked in, right?
Yeah. You didn't want to like bring her over to the dark side. She seemed so pure and sweet. Right. And I didn't want to taint her with my dysfunctional divorced parents and whatnot. Yeah.
What life of the party, trying to reason with cops. Like that's not her style. Right. And so I remember talking to her about that of like, well, it's a weird thing to be like, you were too Christian, but like the vibe was like, yeah, I just didn't want to corrupt her soul. It was kind of the vibe. Not that it was like, she could have come over and played Sega Genesis with us and had a good time. But it's interesting talking to her because she's like, I'm probably misremembering this, but she's like, you just thought I was like super hardcore Christian the entire time? She's like, I hung out at the church so much because I was looking for friends because nobody wanted to hang out with me. And so like, that was just a community. So it's like the weird flip of like, if I would have had friends, I wouldn't have spent so much time at the church. It's just like this, it's a series of miscommunications, I think, for like, I don't know. But then again, maybe you can only have so many good friends in school and you just got to cap it at a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, similar to life now, in my case anyway, you just get so busy. You have big friend circle, you drive yourself nuts. Yeah.
You feel like you don't have a big friend circle now?
No, I have too big of a friend circle and family. I have a big family.
Yeah.
That takes up a lot of time, but just you get pulled in a few different directions.
Yeah. I get it. Here's a question I was thinking about. What teacher do you think did the most net good?
Oh my gosh, the most net good. Who's the one that was just like always there? Well, okay, I don't know about net good. The one that sticks out is just a good guy, Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly. I have no memory of Mr. Kelly.
What?
Oh, wait. Science stuff?
All the way at the end of the hall, he may or may not have believed in deodorant, brewed his own beer, but always had good life lessons. Oh, Okay, this one I think was just a substitute during our time, but he's been around like since the dinosaurs. Mr. Fistus.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Big health nut. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he taught health, I guess, or I connect him with health. I don't even know if that's technically his area of expertise.
No.
What was he doing? Why was he in the school all day?
I don't think he ever left. I think he retired and then he just subbed and was always there.
Okay.
But Mr. Kelly, he just was a good all-around dude, and he wouldn't sugarcoat it, you know. So I think if you had him in class, like, your life was better for it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
And he also taught you how to use a Bunsen burner. So
yeah, that's helpful. Who is the other science teacher in high school? Mr. Gustafson? They'd be like a little bit, like that was kind of his overall vibe. Is that his name? Not Gustafson.
No. Are you talking about Mr. Jacobson and parabolas?
No. That's the math teacher. Yeah, somehow I was in every class possible with Mr. Jacobson, the math teacher. I was locked in with that dude.
I never had him.
What?
Ever.
Well, because you were in advanced math. I was in like, please add 2 + 2 in high school to scrape through by getting a C level
I always
class.
thought this was terrible. They called it concrete and abstract. Remember when they divided our math class?
I was buried in the concrete. You were floating above me like an angel, and I was struggling to count the M&Ms in my hand. It was absolutely rough. But yeah, Mr. Jacobson, I had him so much, and I think back on it too, where I was like, I think I was a pretty good kid overall, but then there's just some teachers that, I don't know, I just had kind of like a you attitude towards, like Mrs. McLean. For some reason, her and I just did not get along at all. And
I don't know that she got along with many.
No, my memory of it is like we didn't get along great. And I'm sure I was a ripe asshole. By the way, apologies to all teachers. We were in the wrong 100% of the time, to be very clear. But I remember there was some time where like, it was like her class and then Roxy's class, and they were right next to each other, and it was the same class, and all of my friends were in Roxy's class. And so at some point I asked to transfer to Roxy's class, and then like she kept me after class, and we had like a one-on-one discussion about it, and she's like, why do you want to leave my class? Why do you want to leave my class? And I was like, oh, my friends are over there. But like, you know, we didn't get along well. And I remember she like teared up because she thought I wanted to leave her class because I hated her so much. Where I was like, no, it's just all my friends are over there. Like, I wasn't a fan of her, but like she clearly was picking up on that. And I can't imagine anything worse than being a teacher and just be like, oh, this little head. Like, and I'm trying to talk to him and he's hurting my feelings so much and he has no idea. It's making me self-conscious about being a teacher on every level. It's like, oh, just brutal.
Right to the heart.
Right to the heart. And then Mr. Jacobson in math, like this is sad. I remember a real highlight was being in his class, and every time somebody would have a question, they'd raise their hand and he'd point to them and he'd go, question. And then they'd take a question. And
we could hear that from Brenda Erickson's room. Because some
really?
of them didn't have walls.
Right.
So
that was weird.
I still sometimes felt like I was there because you could hear him. Question.
And I remember one time somebody, it was like Nick or somebody was like raising their hand for a long time and he wasn't calling on him.
He was funny.
He was funny. That's true. Very funny. Hey, no questions here. Nick is very funny. But somebody's raising their hand for a long time and he wasn't seeing him. So I raised my hand and then Mr. Jacobson pointed at me and he goes, question. And then I pointed to the person who also had their hand raised and I go, question. And then he pointed at that person and he goes, question. And he like repeated it a third time. I was like, yes, I did it. I relayed alley-oop the question. And then I think the worst thing I did was in Mr. Jacobson's class. I remember being kept after for like detention because of some stuff, but not from this. I don't think I was ever caught for this. And to be very clear, I regret this fully, but I do remember because he was just kind of a little bit of an aloof guy, right? And so we'd have like 10 minutes at the end of the class where everyone was just sitting around talking or whatever. It's a lot of downtime for all this stuff. Yeah. And when that was happening, he'd be like grading papers on one side of the room and I'd go over to his computer because he had like everybody has their workstation computer and I would make a new folder on his desktop and then I would label it child porn. And I would just leave it there. And then I'd come back like the next week and the folder was gone. And so I would just make it again. And again, I cannot apologize enough. It's not good and it's not funny. But at the time, I was like, this seems like the right level of mischievousness. Just to have this guy be like, what the hell? Who's making empty folders on my desktop called child porn? It would not have ended well if anybody saw that. It would not have been good.
No, these days, but now I'm really dating us when I say these days.
Yeah.
That could get serious trouble.
Yeah, these days, child porn's frowned upon, whereas back in the early aughts, it was a completely different case and scenario. Yeah.
Well, if we're on the topic of porn in school.
Sure.
I'm probably forgetting. It's probably my most memorable memory, even though it's not my favorite.
Oh, no.
So if you'll recall, my aunt was the choir teacher. Choir director.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And so I, of course, was in choir, and I'm a terrible singer. I'll just mention that quickly.
Oh, you don't need to mention it. You can prove it, Kayla. The floor is yours.
No.
Okay.
No. I sat in between Danielle, Callie, and Lauren, grade below.
Yeah.
Also funny, grade below.
Yeah, grade below, she would have won for number one funniest, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Also worth mentioning, Danielle, Callie, Lauren, also very good artists. Me, I am a finance brain, not a good artist.
Okay.
So we are in choir, and sometimes you get a little bored, and you have choir folders that you put your music in, and you share them with your little seatmate, and that's where your music goes in your folder. Little manila folder, plenty of room for creative minds to wander. And wander they did.
Oh, no.
Some of the drawings on there, again, not from me, I'm not a good artist, from my good friends. Oh man, I don't want to get too into it, but dogs in wheelchairs with weird stuff going on. I don't know even what was going on there. Yes, I was laughing. No, I didn't do any drawing. Fast forward, this goes on. My aunt is checking out the choir folders and sees these phallic drawings, this, that, and the other thing. Makes an announcement the day I am absent from class that, kids, if you want to get rid of your folders, now is the time. I was absent that day. My good artist friends did not get rid of the folder. You want to know how I got that 3.9 GPA, Ben?
Oh, no.
A C in choir from my aunt.
Because your folder had dicks all over it?
Yes.
Hang on. But now, Kayla, I don't want to poke holes in your story. You just said you were a terrible singer in choir class, but you're blaming the folder for getting a C? I don't know about this.
We weren't graded on our singing ability.
Oh, really? That's not the way that worked? I wasn't in that class. I don't know how that worked.
No, God. If you were graded on your singing ability, there would have been like 5 people. Kristen, Alex, others.
Yeah.
No, I was a C because of phallic and very good drawings, but they weren't mine.
Talented, no doubt. You bring them over to Mr. Gabbert, he would have given you an A for that entire thing. Right
across the hall would have had an A.
Yeah, that's completely unfair. Yeah, I was in band, and I just remember, speaking of funny, I played the saxophone with like Danny and Casey, and just remember Casey, he would not even play a saxophone during class because he realized he could make us laugh. But instead of playing a saxophone, he just would pretend that he was making out with his saxophone, and he would just look at us. So we're all playing like Yankee Doodle, and he's just making eye contact with us, like, as he's like licking his saxophone. And I'm sure he still aced the class or whatever. It was like, all right, well, that's going to be funny for an entire year, is someone just making out with a saxophone instead of playing it. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Yuck.
I wonder if Casey's still doing that now as he's trucking along through the countryside.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's big into trucking. Yeah. I think that's how it works. I think when people ask to like, you know, hey, honk the horn, and the kids do the thing, he just like makes out with his steering wheel or something as like a bit. I don't know.
He's still got it.
Yeah. The bits that are eternal, I guess. Here's a weird question for you too. Biggest misconception or like biggest, if you had to give advice to your high school self, this old chestnut, what do you think you'd go for?
Oh, man. It's way general, but I just wouldn't have got like so caught up in being popular, you know?
Okay.
I know that's like very general, and I bet a lot of people have that advice for being their former self, but.
Like, you really worried about it a lot? Like, I need to be the coolest kid in class?
Remember playing Spin the Bottle, and when it would land on you, people would be like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, and again, I understand this is all meaningless in life in general, but like, you won life of the party, and you were worried about being popular? Are you out of your mind? I mean, that was mission accomplished. That's what everybody else was striving for, and you got it, and you still felt like, yeah, but what if someone's prettier than me? This isn't fair. Like, that's just the way the human brain works.
Well, yeah, you know, I've always been a little bit of an overachiever, and it's never good enough. So that's one thing that's stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And it's like, I think the other thing is just, you know, people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are.
Yeah.
I bet.
Is that what you would tell your high school self?
I think that'd be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just people don't care.
No.
You could drop Ashley in front of the entire school, and most people are going to forget about that within an hour. You know?
Yeah.
Unless you talk about it on a podcast 20 years later, then it might live on in some way, but I think you're doing fine.
And put it out into the internet world to live forever.
Right. But I don't think that's helpful. Like, I mean, you have kids. Is it helpful to tell them, oh, the thing you're stressed out about now, you actually don't need to be stressed out about that? But it seems like the worst thing you could say to someone, because like, well, I'm feeling everything right now. How do I just not feel that? Like, you tell me I should. Yeah.
No, that's not helpful at all.
Okay.
I think it's more helpful just to validate their feelings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
that you get, and I think you know this now. Don't you have a kid now?
Right? Yeah. Yep. Wow. Hey, you're in the loop. Way to go.
See?
Yeah. You
I'm sure I congratulated you on the Facebook post because we keep in touch like that.
Yeah. You sent me a message saying that kid could be funnier, make goofier faces, please, which I thought was rude. I was trying to celebrate the birth of my son, but sure.
He could have been longer. No, but I think just that, you know, telling your kids it's okay to feel that way.
Right.
That would be it. That's probably one of my big takeaways, because I think about that a lot, and they're only 4 and 2, but I already think about that stuff.
Well, even with like the 4-year-old, that must come up a lot. Like, I'm sure there's some tantrums. I guess 2-year-old, there's probably tantrums as well, right? And so it's just that tough thing of just like, my kid's 7 months. I can't imagine. I think I'm going to be too logical for approaching that whole thing. You can't approach it with logic. You just have to realize that, like, yeah, I know you're freaking out because the crayon is orange instead of black, but and you just have to say, I understand that's frustrating to have an orange crayon instead of black, and that's the best you can do.
It is. That's what you do, and they're losing their shit, and you're just like, yep, I understand it, bud, and you just let them work through it, and then they pick up the orange crayon, and well, off you go.
That's it, Jesus. How do you think?
It's not that easy.
Yeah, of course. What's been the funniest thing you've done for your kids? How have you made, like, the hardest you've ever made one of your kids laugh? What was the strategy?
The hardest. I mean, funny faces.
Okay.
One of the favorites in our house is doing the Macarena. Believe it or not. We do a lot of dance parties.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you just like blast the Macarena, and then the entire family does the Macarena, and they laugh at it?
It is. Hayden, so my son Hayden's 4, he's the oldest, and then Adeline, my daughter, is 2. And Hayden, like, he'll do it with me, and then he just thinks it's like the funniest thing. So he can't do it for too long because he just laughs. And he's like a pretty serious dude, super cautious. Like, we had swimming lessons, as I told you, and he won't jump out the diving board, even though everybody else does.
Yep.
But you get the Macarena on, and he is just like shaking.
Is it like because there's like the gyration, is it like the butt stuff? Like, that's what's funny?
Oh yeah, he really likes the butt thing. And then you jump and clap, and he like thinks that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that phase, because at 7 months, it's like tickling his feet will get him. Like, you know, throwing my face really quickly into his, like, ooh, wah! And like, especially if I put like a blast of air in his face at the same time, like that'll make him laugh almost every time, which is really good. But there's not much going on in his brain at 7 months, I don't think.
No, and I am comfortable saying this. My favorite ages are like 18 months and above, because you can interact more. You can actually laugh and joke about that stuff. And babies are great, and you get your snuggles, and it's wonderful, and you enjoy it. but I loved interacting with them. And of course, we're talking about toots every 5 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Because they're 2 and 4, so we have a lot of toot jokes.
Yeah, it's timeless. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Kayla, anything else you want to talk about in this hard-hitting podcast?
I feel like I really got ran through the ringer tonight. Yeah. And I'm just really glad that you didn't punk me. And I guess we just need to tie a bow on this then. Here's the question.
Yeah.
Are we friends?
Oh, Jesus. I think so. Yeah, I think this has put us over the edge. We've been bubbling for, I don't know, probably 30 years at this point.
Yes. Yeah, I think if we've been waffling on it for over 30 years, let's just put a stamp on it.
But what is a friend other than like somebody that you're excited to see and having that be somewhat reciprocal? And if I was walking on the sidewalk, like in our old town, and I saw you walk down the sidewalk, I'd be delighted. I think that's the only measurement you can really have here. And even if it's just, I'll see you hypothetically at a class reunion at some point in the future, and then on some stupid Facebook post every now and again, like that's good enough for me. Which, by the way, I should point out, at the last class reunion, I do remember at the end of it, you said, Ben, you're in charge of planning the next one. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes, that does sound like something I would have said.
Yeah. And so I don't really want to do that, though. So if you could plan that 20-year reunion, I'd really appreciate it.
No, let's get Jess to do it.
Okay.
She's a good planner.
Okay, good. What are the key ingredients? I'm happy doing the exact same thing we did last year, or last time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the key ingredients are advance notice. That's really about it.
Yeah.
And warm temps. Don't do it in the winter.
Yep. We can't rely on Facebook anymore. I think it's a matter of like, we need to text everybody individually, get like the text network just to try, because if we send out some stupid like event thing on Facebook, no one's going to care about that.
Let's do this. Let's start the world's biggest group message.
With 138 people or whatever the hell?
Oh, I would die.
I think it could work. All right, Kayla, champion, hero. I was telling some coworkers earlier this week that this was the plan, and they were all horrified at the idea of somebody agreeing to do this. And you handled it like a champ. So thank you for being up for something so absurd out of the blue.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this is going to go on top of the resume with my high school accolades.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so life of the party, and then there's going to be a Bit.ly link to this podcast?
Yeah, there's going to be guest podcast appearance on MinnMax Extraordinaire Party Chat. I know it's not Party Chat, but I couldn't remember
the fact that you know the phrase Party Chat is uncanny. That's just from probably the summary on YouTube that you watch. We don't even do that show anymore, Kayla. We're moving so fast. We got worlds to conquer here. We need to talk about more Sega Genesis games. By the way, Kayla, what is your favorite game of all time? I should have asked you this earlier.
Oh, I did. So I would go over to Jen and house and we would play Sonic on Sega Genesis.
Of course.
Yeah. I wasn't fortunate enough to have Nintendo, but my great uncle had Nintendo, so that us kids would go over there. So we played a lot of Super Mario and NBA Jams.
Ooh, perfect. And that's where your love of basketball came from?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Hey, Kayla, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who watched or listened to this. You're a champion as well. I don't know why you listen to this. It's so specific with a lot of names you don't know, but we apologize. This is the part where it gets weird, Kayla. If you enjoyed this type of content out there on the internet, people, you can join the Backstage Pass tier on Patreon at patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, and you can vote for more episodes of this show. Most likely not with Kayla, but if she's dying to come back, I get it. But we have a poll each and every week for people to vote for which new show we create or continue. And so we can have episode 2 of, I guess, Are We Still? I guess would be the name of this show. I don't know if we'd get other people. I don't know exactly what it would entail. But you can vote for that. Or you can end the show immediately if you watch this and said, I don't want any more rural Minnesota stories. Please make it end. You can do that over there on Patreon. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And Kayla, thank you so much as well, dear friend.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Every week, we let Patreon supporters choose which new show we create with New Show Plus. Should we create another episode of the show you just watched? Check out the biggest new game release? Get into Sea of Thieves? Create an exercise show? It is your call. So thanks to everybody who subscribes on YouTube or supports us over on Patreon. MinnMax exists because of you. As always, if you enjoy MinnMax content, any help telling a friend is appreciated.